Why does it feel like every major institution, from schools to corporations, is pushing the same radical ideology? How did ideas that were once confined to academic theory become the dominant worldview in education, media, and even law? The answer lies in a slow but deliberate transformation of the education system, one that didn't require government coercion or central planning, yet spread like a virus. This is how cultural Marxism took over, and why reversing it won't be easy. The truth about cultural Marxism in education, how it spread without central planning. Education has become the primary vector for the spread of cultural Marxism within society, making it difficult for many to recognize its influence. I hope there are still enough critical thinkers left to reverse its effects. When discussing the particular strain of socialism that has infected the Western world, one recurring question arises: how does a form of socialism that requires neither central planning nor government coercion spread? Though I've covered this in other videos, I'll briefly outline it here. Paulo Freire's educational model applies Marx's oppressed versus oppressor framework to schooling, positioning students as an oppressed class and teachers, society, as their oppressors. He explicitly rejected the banking model of education, where teachers deposit knowledge into students, in favor of problem-posing education, which reframes traditional education as a tool of bourgeois ideological control that reinforces existing power structures. The incorporation of postmodernist ideas, particularly those of Foucault and Derrida, added the denial of objective knowledge, insisting that all education is a form of power that either reinforces or challenges oppression. In this view, truth is socially constructed rather than objectively discoverable. The American version of this educational framework adopts this postmodernist denial of objective truth, creating fertile ground for an array of critical theories: feminist theory, queer theory, trans theory, post-colonial theory, intersectionality, and more. This ideological framework, once internalized, replaces objective knowledge with subjective truth, making education a matter of political and social struggle rather than individual learning. This worldview did not need to be imposed by force. It merely had to be taught to a small number of people who then spread it organically, functioning like an ideological virus. Cultural hegemony, the engine of cultural Marxism. Another key concept here is cultural hegemony, developed by Antonio Gramsci. Unlike traditional Marxists, who saw revolution as a violent overthrow of capitalism, Gramsci argued that the ruling class maintains control not through coercion, but through cultural institutions, schools, media, churches, and civil society, to manufacture consent for its ideology. This is exactly how Freire's model operates. It does not require a socialist state to enforce Marxist ideology. Instead, it spreads through cultural institutions, particularly teacher training programs, universities, and K-12 education. By framing all education as a battle between oppression and liberation, it creates an ideological system that reproduces itself, requiring no state enforcement. These ideas entered the American school system decades ago. The individuals trained in them have since spread into corporate DEI programs, media narratives, activist legal interpretations, and more, ensuring that cultural Marxism now extends far beyond the classroom, a self-sustaining form of collectivism. Despite the lack of central planning or state coercion, this system remains a form of collectivism. It reorients education away from individual mastery of knowledge and personal achievement, prioritizing group-based political struggle instead. Traditional education assumes that knowledge is neutral and valuable for individuals, helping them succeed based on merit. This system rejects that idea, insisting that knowledge must be understood through the lens of collective oppression. The goal is not for students to become skilled, capable individuals, but for them to act as activists, working toward the political transformation of society. The role of the teacher. Under this model, the teacher is no longer an authority figure transmitting knowledge, but a facilitator of group consciousness raising. This erodes the hierarchy of learning, shifting the goal from personal growth and intellectual mastery to collective struggle and activism. Freire's influence extends beyond just his own work. His ideas directly inspired critical pedagogy, which views education not as a neutral pursuit of knowledge, but as a tool for ideological activism. This approach bears striking similarities to Maoist and Soviet educational models, where schooling was used to indoctrinate students into collective ideological goals rather than develop independent critical thinkers. The transformation of American education. Critical pedagogy, largely inspired by Paulo Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed, has deeply infiltrated the American education system. Its influence can be seen across K-12 schooling, universities, teacher training programs, standardized testing. Education has shifted from knowledge transmission and skill development to an ideological mechanism for activism and social reconstruction. The result? A self-sustaining system that no longer requires state enforcement. It spreads organically through culture itself, just as Gramsci predicted. Cultural Marxism didn't need government coercion. It took over through education, reshaping how entire generations see the world. But recognizing the problem is the first step to pushing back. If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives like this. I am Red Takedown, and this is the hard-hitting analysis of the Plunge Report on the ideological battles shaping our world. Stay informed, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.